Hey guys, it's Abby with the Bead Place and beadplace.net, and today we're going to show you how to make these really pretty interchangeable bead bangles. The tools that you'll need to complete this project are a flush cutter, a chain nose pliers, and a round nose pliers. Having an additional chain nose pliers or a flat nose pliers is helpful as well. So the materials that you'll need are one of our kits, or if you have individual materials that you want to use. The basic parts that you'll need are a piece of our flat wire. This is our 21 gauge flat wire. This is an 8-inch piece that comes in the kit. You can cut it down to whatever size you need. What I normally do is I'll start with a 7-inch piece, so I cut about an inch off. And then you'll need about 4 inches of either anywhere from a 20 to a 24 gauge wire. And then some little spacers. I have 4 daisy spacers here. I have a focal bead. This is one of our Swarovski cosmic beads. And then I have 2 thick jump rings. These are 5mm ID and they are 16 gauge. So the first thing that we're going to do is start with our piece of the thinner round wire. We're going to do a closed wrap loop on the one side. So we're going to start a little bit higher than halfway down the middle, grab it with the chain nose pliers, and bend it into a right angle. So this is what we have so far. Now we're going to use our round nose pliers, and we are going to grab right on that bend, a little bit farther back on our pliers than the very tip, a couple millimeters back, maybe about 4 millimeters back. And we're going to push the wire up around the top of the pliers and down so that it then looks like this. So we're going to put our round nose pliers back into it, bring the tail end around to complete that loop. And so it should look like a lowercase cursive E on top of a post with a long tail. We're going to bring that tail end around to spiral it shut. So around and underneath in order to coil it closed. So we can then trim the tail end off using the flush cutter. Always remember to either grab the tail end that you're cutting or cover it so that that little piece doesn't go flying. If you need to, you can then use the chain nose pliers to tuck the tail end down further if it's sticking out. Otherwise, if you don't need to, then good job. So we are going to string our focal section now. I like to do 2 little daisy spacers, then the focal bead, and then 2 more of the little daisy spacers. And we're going to repeat that closed wrap loop on this side. So we're going to grab our chain nose pliers, grab directly on top of the beadwork, and bend it into a right angle. Watch the angle that you bend it so that you're bending the loops so that they'll be in the same direction. Then we're going to grab our round nose pliers, push the wire up around the top and down like this so that it then looks like a clothes hanger. And then we're going to swing the tail end out to the other side. So we're swinging it underneath and straight out to the other side. So we have that lowercase cursive E. Then we can continue wrapping the tail end around and spiraling it down towards our work. And once you have about 3 spirals, or until you've filled that empty space, you can stop. We're going to trim the tail end, tuck it down if necessary, and we have our focal piece. Now we are going to add the jump rings to either side. So anytime you're opening and closing jump rings, you want to make sure to open it and close them in this direction, like this. You're not ever going to pull your jump rings open like this. Always want to make sure you're rotating them side to side like this. So I have my jump ring here. I'm going to hold it so that the break of the jump ring is at 12 o'clock. And I'm going to pull it open like so. I'm going to put it in one side of my link and then close it. Always check from the top to make sure that you've closed it all the way. Kind of give it a feel, make sure it's smooth. And then we're going to do the same thing to the other side. So open it sideways, drop our link in, and then close it. So just like that. So now we can start to make the bangle. The first thing that we're going to do is take the flat wire and size it. Now, most of the time the 8-inch pieces fit almost everybody. If you have a smaller wrist, maybe consider cutting about an inch off, and that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm just taking a flush cutter, making sure that the flush side of the cutter is facing your work, and cut. So try to keep it as straight as possible, and that just makes sure that you don't have a funny looking end. So then what we're going to do is grab our round nose pliers and grab right at the very, very tip of the wire and bend it all the way into a loop. You might have to re-grip in order to get that loop closed, but you see how we're bending it into a teeny tiny little loop. And that just kind of finishes the ends of the wire so that it looks nice and even. So we're going to bend both ends out in the same direction, and try to be really careful when gripping with your round nose pliers because you can end up easily putting dents in your wire. So try to grab just the very end of the wire and then kind of manipulate the wire around the pliers rather than grabbing and bending with the pliers if you can. So we have both ends going in the same direction. Now what we're going to do is use the very back of the plier nose rather than the very tip of the plier nose. We're going to grab right at the very back, right before our loop. Just like this. And now we're going to bend it into a bigger loop in the opposite direction. So we bent our loops up initially. Now we're going to bend them down and under, and just bend it until it touches, just like that. So we're going to flip that around and do the same thing to the other side. So grab at the very back of your pliers and bend it all the way down until it just barely touches. So this is what we should have. So this is the base of our bangle. You can kind of play with the sizing and the tension a little bit if you need to. Now what you can do is shape the bangle. So everyone's wrist shape is a little bit different. You can make yours more oval or more round. These are two different shapes. This one's more U-shape and this one's more rounded. But what I like to do is either take like a water bottle and bend it around the water bottle, or an easy way to get the shape that you want is if you already have a cuff bracelet, just hook the one side into the edge of your cuff bracelet. Use your fingers to push the one side around and stop right before you get to the hook. And you're going to do the same thing to the other side. So hook the other side in, push it around, or if you have a bracelet mandrel, that works too. I know that a lot of you are beginning jewelry makers, so you might not have bracelet mandrels at home. That's totally fine. You can use whatever you have on hand. The first time I made one of these bangles, I just shaped it with my fingers, and that works just fine as well. So now that we have a U shape, it doesn't have to be completely closed. Now that we have a U shape, we have our bangle. And then what holds it together in the bangle size or bangle shape is the tension. So what you're going to do is slip the link into one side and then push this and slip it into the other side and now we have an awesome bangle. Now you can pinch the edges closed a little bit. You can pinch one side closed permanently and leave one side open, but basically you want it so that the jump ring just barely slips through. And then the tension is what's going to hold it shut whenever it's on you. So you can make them big enough to slide over your wrist and wear like a bangle. This one I made small enough so I could take it on and off. This one's big enough that I can slip it over my wrist and wear it like a bangle. So make them whatever size is comfortable for you. The kits are available at www.beadplace.net. There's a really beautiful copper combination and then this awesome silver combination as well. All the tools that we use you can find at beadplace.net as well. If you liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below. Like us on Facebook and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Thanks for watching.